This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning, and we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 31st of July, 2019, and I am Dia.
I am Tuam.
And I am Miss K, your host. Again, in case you missed it, this is Winning Headlines. Let's take a look at today's headlines. Standard, how Waititu could beat Haji office ban order. The Star, to bury or cremate, Okothkin disagree. And finally, Daily Nation, united against vote. Let's begin with Waititu and his inability to enter his office.
Is it inability to enter office or inability to carry out functions?
Well, he's in jail, so it doesn't matter. Let's just talk about the case.
Okay, should he be released, he will still be able to carry out his functions, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
But he will not be able to access office.
No, he won't, according to the judgment.
Meaning he can set up an office in Rwaka and still run Kiambu from there, correct?
Of course.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Do you have a proposed location?
Yes.
Tell me, please.
On top of Joyland.
Here, I thought you were going to say Two Rivers.
I think what you have said in earlier conversations is that the judge does not have the authority to overturn or overrule the will of the Kiambu people who voted for.
Absolutely.
For Governor Waititu.
In my view, it is tantamount to a judicial coup. And what you're actually doing is you're getting a bloodthirsty judiciary that will not just stop governors from entering the offices. One day they'll wake up, dissolve parliament and dissolve the presidency because parliament cannot exist without the executive, and then tell Uhuru to go home.
That is drastic.
To him and his diabolical views. But I will say this. I feel like Mumbi Ngogi did a really good job of playing in between the lines. She walked the judicial line very carefully because she said, and I will quote, that you are not allowed to access your office. Now, office could mean two things. It could mean the physical location in which you're present, or it could mean the position that you hold. So here she said, physical location. Why? It's a crime scene. It has evidence. Don't enter. Don't tamper. Let's investigate. If you're clear, you're clear.
But and for that reason, I think she was being very deliberate in that ruling.
She was being, but on whose authority? She cannot override over 1 million people who voted for Waititu.
She didn't remove anybody from office.
She
removed them from
in fact, the people that you should be pointing fingers at for wrong interpretations
is Nyoro.
Exactly.
But Nyoro was following the ruling, and the ruling said that the deputy can take up the functions
and immediately declare himself
governor for the remainder of the term.
The person again we should now even address now is Nyoro. What you do to others,
they shall be done unto you. Equal measure.
When they come out of jail.
Absolutely.
We have a three-part criteria that we use to break down headlines for you. We ask ourselves three questions. Is this headline topical, or is it speculative? Is it repetitive, or is it groundbreaking? And finally, is it thoughtful or just plain lazy? I say we toss it.
Yeah, I say we toss it too.
Yeah.
It is actually quite unreadable.
I'm going to... The standard editor, please be warned. Kindly get a book. What is it called? Students' Prose. The Students' Handbook to English. And the grammar. The Star, to bury or cremate. Okothkin disagree.
I don't think we should discuss this.
I don't think it should be a headline. I don't think the nation should be drawn into no, I mean the nation as the people should be drawn into a conversation that should be for a grieving family. That it should be private.
However, this is not the first time that this has happened. In 1986, the nation, we as a people, were brought into a conversation that ideally should be private and was already settled.
Although it was a court case, wasn't it?
Yes, it was a court case. 1986, SM Otieno, a prominent lawyer, passed away, and his wife, Omboyo Otieno, wanted to bury him in their Upper Matasia Ngong home. She said they were Christians, they lived in Nairobi, had a wonderful life, and that was his wish, to be buried in his Upper Matasia home. But his whole clan, the Umira Kager clan, came up against this singular woman and took her to court and claimed that as per Luo tradition, SM Otieno had not fulfilled the requirements of having his own home in Upper Matasia and therefore had to be buried in his ancestral home.
And their wishes prevailed?
Oh yes, they prevailed. Also because, and I read the case in university, a very, very strange procedure that I don't think would ever work. You have to leave a white cock on the premises and then find it in the morning. How? Please tell me how. Anyway, I agree with you. I think we put this in the parking bay. Finally, Daily Nation, united against vote.
And what do they expect? This Punguza Mzigo bill, and I said this last week. It is
First, give us context before you really take away.
All right, I will give you context. There is this man called Uhuru who drafted the Punguza Mzigo bill. I think he was drafting it on behalf of somebody. Anyway, last week he went to make presentations to county assembly somewhere in the Rift. And these guys liked it.
Nakuru.
MCAs from Elgeyo Marakwet, Turkana, Nakuru, everybody saying this thing we must pass. But now the political glitterati, the Odingas and the Kenyattas, they seem to have converged together and they're saying, let us not support this bill. You wait until BBA is done by October and then we can deal.
Punguza Mzigo versus BBI.
Yes.
I don't know. Like, I think you said earlier that our court is a fly in the ointment of the BBI initiative.
Absolutely. They don't see him as a threat.
Yes.
They see him as an annoyance,
Yes.
a fly that is to be swatted.
Absolutely.
But I do have to say the Stadway Alliance do not have the money to do this. So there must be a sponsor. And maybe what they're doing is calling out for that nameless,
and maybe
faceless.
This is the juncture where we point out that the deputy president has been loudly silent on this matter.
Well, what do we say about this headline? I think it's
I
a winning
like
headline.
I like it.
Yes.
I absolutely like it.
Daily Nation gives us our winning headline.
Yeah.
And on to our next segment, the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country.
Yeah.
Just like the headlines, we have a 3-part criteria that we use to break them down for you. We ask ourselves, is the cartoon humorous or is it dry? Is it satirical or is it pessimistic? And finally, is it effective or just plain lazy?
Before we go to cartoons, I want us to focus on something. With
Yes.
your permission,
Yes.
host. And there's a picture, this one.
Distressed.
Of a lovely couple.
I want to call them Bonnie and Clyde.
Hey.
It's a picture.
I found it very sad, I have to say this.
Yeah.
That you can have a husband and wife on the dock and they're not able to meet the bail. My heart went out to their children.
Let me tell you, if Ferdinand Waititu did not pay the bill, it is not because he didn't have the money to do it. The guy was being very clever. If he did it, Haji and the other Gestapo guy would be looking at the accounts to see where they removed money for the bill.
I just found it sad. But anyway, on to our
So they
cartoons.
didn't want to be traced.
Going to the stuff.
Precisely. Also was on telling us here, caricature of Donald Trump and his twin brother,
Boris Johnson.
Boris Johnson. And they are on a branch. And what's on the branch?
Poop.
And what's the caption?
Birds of a feather. I wish he didn't have the caption though.
Then we would make the deduction for ourselves.
Yeah, and they say cuckoo.
Yeah, cuckoo.
Because they're seen as mad. They're seen as mad characters who are so unconventional.
Also, Trump's bird body resembled that of the Twitter bird because that is what he is famous for,
Yes.
Mr. Twitter Fingers.
Yeah.
And Boris says is that of a vulture.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But who would have thought that two people who are leaders of government in the West, who look alike, believe in the same things,
have the same privileged background.
Absolutely.
Have the same brash attitude.
Yes.
And the same declarations of aversion to power.
Yes, would head their governments at the same time.
I don't know. Perhaps what Prof said will come true. He said that if that happens, it's because the gods are colluding to finish us.
And using the blonde twins to do that.
The blonde twins.
What do you think about the cartoon?
I like it, but let's wait and see what.
Put it in the
Bench
pocket.
it?
But today I felt like it was a generally lazy day.
Yes. Oh, this is Fellowship of Rats, and it's in the White House. And this is racism. One that has been labeled racism, the other one nepotism,
chronism, and misogynism.
I can't pronounce that. and
Ooh, missile came away from that.
Context of this is Trump was getting at a man called Elijah Cummings. I believe he's a congressman for Baltimore.
Yeah,
and
it's the representative. Yes.
Yeah, and Baltimore is a rat-infested place and it's very dirty. But isn't it true?
How would I know?
Oh.
And he's saying that because Cummings was critical of the U.S. border policy.
Yes, absolutely.
And he said, how dare you criticize me and your own city is rat-infested and dirty, like Africa.
But then again, why is Gado telling us about Cummings and Trump?
Well,
because Gado is an international.
Today there are two international cartoons. I would say we toss them, but let's see the final one.
Too late.
Toss it.
Right, it's a drawing. It's by Ndula, a drawing of the Grim Reaper. It's labeled Cancer, and coming out of Parliament is what was it? And it's saying Forget health. Let us discuss mileage allowance,
night allowance, mortgage allowance.
Yet the cancer of cancer is right there, all right? And what I think Dula is telling us is this: Parliament should be focusing on things that matter. And if we had a national policy regarding cancer treatment in this country, that would be a good thing, I guess.
I would say we toss it. It's a repetition of what his alter ego did yesterday. In which he said cancer was concerned.
So, do you have a winning cartoon?
No, we don't have a winning cartoon, but I would like to call back 2 cartoons. Our cartoons of the year for the past year. The first one is Gado's State of the Nation.
Yes.
I love that cartoon, a representation of where we were at that time.
Yeah.
And the second cartoon is the opening of Rivertex, where we had
that one was classic.
Well-dressed,
that was vintage
Oscar Sudi in a pretty dress and the cutest yellow shoes.
And what's he holding?
A pair of
scissors.
Yeah.
Uhuru's walking majestically towards it, and he's like, I want to speak my mind.
And at the same time, he's so dutiful. He's standing there in his dress holding the scissors.
But he can't help himself. He's just about to say something. But then who says who?
William Ruto goes, please, we would like to call our cartoonists back to the inspiration behind those 2 awesome cartoons and have them bring us something that is equally as wonderful.
Absolutely.
So we have no winning cartoon today.
Yeah.
But what is our final thought?
And now our final thought, inspired by a book entitled Getting to Yes. It's a 75-page book written by 3 people.
Yeah.
How many pages, Papa said?
25. And one of the authors, let me name them. Roger Fisher, 1. Second, William L. Uri.
I think that's how it is.
He cannot say Mwangi. And last but not least, Bruce Payton.
Yes.
All right? You want to give us a roundup of this week?
This week we have been looking at leadership, and we began on Monday with the Dictator's Handbook. How bad behavior makes for good politics.
Yeah.
We're looking at how leaders should lead, and we were saying that sometimes you have to be bad to be a good leader.
Yes.
On the second day we looked at the gatekeepers, and that was looking at who the president needs. Now that you're in power, what are the people that you need around you to ensure that your agenda gets done, and that you're not running around trying to implement private agendas for certain people.
Absolutely.
And the most important was your chief of staff.
Yes. That one I loved.
I will not comment on whether or not our president has a chief of staff, but I will say that today we're trying to look at how to achieve or how to get what you want.
Yes.
And we're looking at getting to yes.
Getting to yes, and I should mention, because 2M disparaged the book, it is 39 years old, this book, and it is still the go-to book for negotiations, apparently, in all spheres and industries. And it is written by 3 gentlemen who have made their life's work the study and the practice of negotiation. They're all consultants and for companies and for governments around the world, except, of course, Roger Fisher, who passed away in 2012.
Yes.
So the premise of the book is that everybody needs to learn to negotiate well, because everything in life is about negotiation. And they say the world has rapidly changed. Just a few decades ago, in any situation, the person who made the decision was whoever was in charge. It was one person. If it's at home, it is the supreme leader, the wise father, or the mother. If it is at the office, it is the dictatorial boss. And if it's and if it's at the national level,
allow me to throw it back.
Throw it back. And also politically, it is the dictator, the president, whoever it is. All power was vested upon him or her, and that has changed. Even in our Constitution 2010, power is decentralized. So this book, they recommend a method that people should use in negotiations, and it's called the principal bargaining method. And this is where you seek to use objective negotiating criteria to reach the best possible outcome for both sides. And this is where the phrase win-win comes from. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
A very widely used phrase, the win-win situation. And they're saying that conflicts do not have to end in a zero-sum game. It shouldn't be winner takes it all, but there can always be a compromise that is reached in an effective negotiation.
I'd like to bring you back a little bit. And you talked about a win-win and this principled negotiation. So if we go back to how old school negotiation, traditional negotiation happened, you have 2 types of negotiators. You have on the one hand a hard negotiator, and on the other hand hand, a soft negotiator.
Yes.
So a hard negotiator takes a position, digs in, and only takes an outcome that is best for them.
Yeah.
Whereas on the other hand, a soft negotiator wants to get the best outcome from all parties, so they keep making concessions.
Yes.
But in the end, they come off feeling like they're bitter because the outcome was not exactly what they wanted. In fact, they lost more than they could get.
Yes.
So are you trying to tell me that with principled negotiation, I'm able to come to a situation in which the hard negotiator steps down and the soft negotiator steps up, and you have a sort of middle ground?
Absolutely. And you see, this is that is the thing. It actually is an idealistic book. of all the political advisory books that we have read that covers negotiation. On that spectrum, this one exists on the level of Gandhi. It's Gandhi-esque, while the others are very Machiavellian. And because of this, the book has received a lot of criticism actually on being too soft, on being unrealistic, and not realizing that not all conflicts can have a reconcilable end. It doesn't. It's actually recognize that sometimes you actually have to take strong positions or be adversarial in order to get to have a successful negotiation.
And I agree. The best form of defense is attack.
Offense.
Yeah, is offense. But there's something he said, and he gives a story about this American lawyer who went to interview the former president of Egypt, Abdel Nasser. And here's how the dialogue goes. So he goes and he asks the Abdel Nasser about Golda Meir. Golda Meir was the prime minister of Israel.
Yes.
And he says, what is it you want Golda Meir to do? And Nasser replies, withdraw. And he says, withdraw from what? And he says, withdraw from every inch of Arab territory. And the lawyer asks, do you do this without a deal? And he says, nothing, it's our territory, she must withdraw. And then the American asked, what would happen to Golda Meir if tomorrow morning she appeared on Israeli radio and television, right, and said, on behalf of the people of Israel, I withdraw from the Sinai, from Gaza, from West Bank, from Jerusalem, and from the Golan Heights. This was territory that Israel took in 1967, the Six-Day War, all right? And then she says, and then she continues, and I want you to know I have no commitment of any kind from any Arab whatsoever. You know what Nasser laughed? What Nasser did?
What did he say?
He laughed and he says, she would have trouble at home. Now, it's at that point where Nasser discovered that he did not see or he did not expect what Golda Meir would have done. Right, there was hard position, and this is where he comes up with a concept. It's called a negotiation jiu-jitsu. Now, jiu-jitsu is martial arts, right? Where you dig in and you see the other person he's placed himself, and the other one is, But you see, what has happened is a deadlock. Okay?
Yes.
And it says there are three ways that your offense or the person on the other side will attack you. First, they'll attack your position, and they'll do it forcefully. But second, they'll attack your idea, and third, they will attack you, all right? And says the best way to solve it is to don't attack their position, all right? Look behind it, understand where they are coming from, and also understand their posture. If you do that, then you will also retreat. Now, on the day that the American lawyer interviewed Abdel Nasser, the day that Abdel Nasser said he will do nothing and he will not concede, is the day that he also accepted to have a ceasefire with Golda Meir.
Because he understood how unnatural and how unfair the position he was asking her to get from was.
Precisely.
But I have a couple of questions for you guys.
Yeah.
So these guys have 4 points that they call for principled negotiation.
Yes.
They say, first, look at the people. So you separate the people from the position.
Yes. Yeah.
Second, look at the interests.
Yeah.
Focus on the interests, not on the positions.
Yeah.
Third, they say, come up with a variety of options of what you can and cannot agree.
Yeah.
In fact, come up even with your worst case scenario, the worst outcome that you could possibly take when you're negotiating.
Yeah.
And finally, they say, have a criteria, an objective criteria that you're going to use as the standard of negotiation.
Right.
Now, as a country, we've done a lot of negotiating.
Yes.
Politics is negotiation.
Yeah.
So we've done a lot of negotiating, and I'm going to pick 3 negotiations. And I want us to go through this criteria and see whether they work. The first one is what we called, in the end, the National Accord and Reconciliation Act, the NARA process.
Yes.
And that is what happened post 2007, 2008.
Yes.
Negotiation between Raila Odinga and
Mwai Kibaki.
Mwai Kibaki.
Yeah.
Second,
Yes.
we call it the handshake.
Yes.
Negotiation between
Yes.
Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga.
Yes.
And the handshake dislodged a previous negotiation.
Yes.
So now we have a new negotiation in the making.
Yes.
Negotiation between William Ruto and whomever
Yes.
for 2022.
Yes.
Are these good negotiated settlements? Can they follow this getting to yes niceness?
Yes.
In which we're going to do the best we can while still being decent?
Yes.
Or are we going to go through Machiavellian?
Before you even answer that question, can you imagine getting into a negotiating room and you have read Getting to Yes, and you're meeting somebody who has read the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene? You're going to be massacred.
Oh, absolutely.
So that will end very badly for you.
You'll be chewed out and spattered alive.
But just to answer your question, do you know what he says? And I find it weird.
Yes.
He's looking for very nice methods of negotiation, but then he also admits that it's never about nice things in the room. It's about interests. Right?
Yes, interests
now,
are what define the problem.
Now, for 2008, that was a forced coalition because people had fought and blood was spilled. This one is elite interest.
Which one? Handshake.
Handshake is elite interest because I suspect, and I think we all know,
yes,
people want to keep power. All right.
course.
Now, if they want to keep power, you keeping one end of the bargain with the number two.
So we can say that in this handshake scenario that you're talking about, it is the deputy president, also ab initio. He's the one who did not do good negotiations for himself when he got into that first arrangement.
Yes.
He should have thought through the prenuptial agreement before ending up in irreconcilable differences.
And we're trying to negotiate a divorce and we don't know who's going to take the house.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And for all intents and purposes, 2013 was a coalition government. URP, TNA. So he should have come with his side of ministers. Uhuru comes with his side of ministers. They come together and say, we will run government like this. But now, when a handshake comes, it is very easy for...
It was based on trust. Exactly.
Based on trust.
Which is very shaky.
Absolutely.
Which is very getting to yes type. That is based on trust. This is the one book we are recommending that you do not read.
Even though it's given to you, we suggest that you eat it with a bucket load of salt and understand that even in the best negotiated settlement, distribution is necessary. And when we start distributing things, it's you plus, me minus. That's the only way distribution works.
Absolutely.
Or if it's to be read, it should be read in conjunction with books that are more pragmatic, because this one falls on the idealistic spectrum.
Yes.
I do agree. This is Winning Headlines. We did not have a winning cartoon, and we wished for the cartoonists to get back their inspiration. And we did have a winning headline from the Daily Nation. We'd like to ask you to remember to take a moment and search for us. We are on your TV sets. You can find us on GoTV, Star Times, and Pan free to air. But as well, don't forget to subscribe to this channel.
Yes.
Have a great day and see you tomorrow.